really cool.
Bonjour, hello, and welcome to the Rosbiff Rugby podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby. Top 14, Pro League, the Nationale, brilliant Champions Cups, Challenge Cups, the French national team, but most importantly of all, on this week, of course, the brilliant towns, cities, bars, restaurants, people, fans, everything that makes French rugby the game we know and love. Rob, how are the post-trip blues?
Heavy, I'd say. Yeah, yesterday was a tough day. Still feeling a little bit jaded today, I have to say. You were saying you weren't too bad yesterday, and you're feeling all right today. But yeah, I think I'm wearing my Stade Toulousain jumper, my new Stade Toulousain jumper. But I think I am still a bit defeated and down about the fact that I managed to. It was 1 in, 1 out with the jumpers. I managed to lose my favourite jumper, my Montauban Adidas jumper, which was probably being lost to a bin in Stade Ernest-Vallon.
Fantastic. Well, it's like it might not be a bin, it might be sort of passing of the baton, handing over the torch. There's, maybe some other young up and coming fan who's found the Montauban kit, and it will live long in the future. Fair to say a pretty successful trip though, all round, apart from the morning of the Montauban jumper.
Other than possessions lost, which was actually remarkably high. I think gained 3 pieces of stash. And I think I've also lost 3 pieces of stash, 2 of which I purchased on the trip. But other than possessions lost, it was a very, very good trip. One of those ones where trying to work out the highlight or the best bit is probably quite a tricky call.
Yeah, it was a lovely trip. So just to recap for those who perhaps weren't listening last week, we were into Bordeaux on Thursday morning, followed by a train to Agen to watch Agen v Béziers, a little day in Toulouse, and then that sort of double header of Montauban versus Montpellier on the Saturday afternoon, followed by hot-footing it down to the Stade Ernest-Vallon no game took place. We'll just scratch from the record as a Castres fan what happened there, but yeah, pretty exceptional before flying back from Lourdes. Yeah, a bit of an eventful plane journey, Rob. Maybe we should start at the end.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, Richard. I'd rather not talk about the plane journey because I don't want to offend anyone.
Fair enough. There are a few characters.
Few interesting characters. I think because I was texting Charles Richardson yesterday. So Charles, we bumped into, and I was kind of saying, like you say, because he went to Bayonne, and saying that our flight back was a bit interesting. Couple of difficult characters who perhaps had a difficult few years or a difficult background, perhaps are a bit overwhelmed by the pilgrimage. I think overwhelmed would be the word I'd use.
Plus about 15 mini bottles of vodka.
Yeah. Amazing what happens when Ryanair don't refuse to serve someone who's clearly drunk and keep serving them minis of Jack Daniels. It's amazing what happes.
Incredible. We made it back in one piece. We saw
some things in the airport and on the flight that I don't think I'd be amazed if I see again, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that's a good diplomatic summary, I think, of what happened. Sorry, you were talking about Charles. I guess you were just regaling to Charles some of the antics.
Yeah, basically, we're just saying that it was a bit of a tricky flight. And also that Lourdes was quite a weird place, which was a sentiment he echoed. Although he said the ground was very good and really cool, which is not surprising given that they are joint fourth most successful club in the history of France, albeit they are currently at Fédéral 2. And actually, it was just a weird place. Like, it was just a start there.
Sunday afternoon, as we know, it can be proper kind of barren wasteland, right? So I wouldn't want to judge too much on seeing 2 roads, but I would agree it had the sort of, I don't know, like you've been dropped into a kind of
what town of the Wild West
murder mystery.
Yeah. It was really sleepy, weirdly international, like the cuisine. I don't think I've ever seen so many like Sri Lankan and Indian and parts of Asia. The restaurants you never see those in France, and there was actually more of those than there were like French restaurants. But the restaurant we were in, probably the least good food, I'd say, of our weekend, but it was passable for a Sunday, just about. Had some very cool memorabilia of FC Lourdes, who obviously were very good at times in their history, but they had some really cool memorabilia all over the wall. So just to
And a
show.
very lovely owner who sorted us a taxi to the airport as well. So
Yeah.
shout out to her.
Rather than us doing a 6 mile walk or whatever it was going to be.
Well, we finished at the end there. Some of the maybe the less endearing sights of the trip. I mean, we had what? We got to Bordeaux, had a fabulous little pit stop in a very quiet, very understated Marché des Capucins midweek, which was, well, pretty much hit the spot perfectly.
We'll come on to it, like absolute highlights of the trip, but that was, I think I will go not for that, but it was a brilliant start to the trip. To see the Marché des Capucins, which is the main food market in Bordeaux, to see that not hectic was quite cool, I think. It was kind of really quite quiet, or you could easily find a place to sit and didn't have to kind of wait for a spot at a bar or anything like that. We nestled in at a Basque restaurant, which was El Peña. I can't remember the name now, but it was, just the three of us and the barman, and it was 12 o'clock and he was on the beers as well with us.
Olivier, what a man, who's not only a restaurant and bar owner, both in or around the Marché des Capucins, but is also an emergency helicopter pilot by night. So he's saving lives and chowing down Bass cider and serving up some lovely mixed platters, and also serving some of the UBB boys in his restaurant. I think Louis Bielray and Nicolas Deporter and Boscheton had been in the week before on the Ricards. So shout out to Olivier. We'll when we, I guess, next do a little Bordeaux recommendation, we'll find out that, although actually that bar he sold it and he's moving into a premises like a couple of bigger station corners away.
Yeah, in the market.
Yeah, because the wine selection wasn't big enough. He said he needed a proper place for wine, which is slightly.
The wine selection looked good enough to me. So
yeah, but another lovely bloke. And then on to Agen, which was quiet, I think it's fair to say.
What was Agen? That was about an hour and 10 on the train.
Yeah,
I think.
Not
and
too
I think
far
the next day it was hour and 20. I think like it is genuinely equidistant between Bordeaux and Toulouse. Yeah. And actually, that was it all worked out pretty well in terms of the trains, didn't it? Like we didn't have any too aggressive early morning ones, and there weren't any kind of super in for the long haul, which we have done in the past. Kind of, I think we've done or
the bus replacement to Rennes.
Yeah, we've done so many that are 2 hours or thereabouts that like we kind of don't really bat an eyelid about that. Actually, no, it was 1 hour and 48 to Lourdes, wasn't it, from Toulouse? That was a decent schlep, but yeah, other than that, it was pretty reasonable train journeys.
Yeah,
but yeah, Agen was gone. Then talk to me about it.
Well, just Agen, Rich. Quiet. I think it's fair to say. Very quiet, and then very. The other thing, which has happened once or twice when we've been before, is there's basically nobody walking to the ground. Now, obviously, it's not a top 14 fixture, maybe a few down because it's a late kickoff on a Thursday night, but it seemed like it was only when we got within about 100 yards of the Stade Armandie that anyone actually turned up. And it was reasonably... Well, the main stand opposite us, I think it's fair to say, was fairly quiet, but the big new one that we were in along the side was, I think, actually pretty well attended. But Agen itself, a slightly disappointing boutique, a little bit expensive and a little bit plain, but we can't have it all.
Did buy a cap, now disappeared, or
mystery
now
cap.
now in a hotel in Toulouse.
But all things told, I think a pretty cool place to watch rugby. I imagine, as and when Agen hit the heights at some point, as maybe that they will do, a kind of full and crackling Armandie would be quite the place to be. Quite an imposing stadium, I'd say.
I was just trying to find. I don't know where. I don't know how you find like attendance figures easily these days. No one seems to publish them anywhere. But 14,000-ish stadium, and I reckon it was probably about 60% full. I reckon.
Yeah.
It was a weird thing where, like, speaking to Charles afterwards, he was on the other side of the ground, and he thought it was really full, and we were like, no, your stand that you were in was not full. Kind of what we were looking at was quite empty, and then obviously what he was looking at looked quite full. But I'd say like call it 8,000. It was, and the fact that it wasn't full, it was really loud, like louder than it should be for a stadium that kind of had quite a lot of space in it, and maybe because we were in the loud bit. But yeah, really cool stadium and great fans, just really good fans, like all game, really loud, and just quite a nice facility, I'd say, as a setup generally.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe let's we can go on to that in a tiny bit more detail in a sec. Should we talk about the game briefly
Yeah,
while
go on then.
while we're at that point? I think what was the final score? 21-10 was it? Or have I
Yeah, yeah.
misremembered that? 21-10. I'd say we were saying it at the time, one of the more convincing 21-10s you will see. Slightly sticky first kind of 15, 20 minutes and felt like Agen were perhaps a little bit lateral. They're definitely looking to, as I think we saw particularly in that game that was on FR UK against Grenoble, clearly looking to play a bit more than perhaps we've seen in the past. But it was, I can't remember what the score was at half time, but was it like 3-0 to Beziers or something like that?
It was something like that, wasn't it?
It was almost a pointless first half, and you knew that it had to turn at some point. And sure enough, Agen, the first kind of 10 minutes of the second half, sort of, I guess it only got up to 21, but it felt like it kind of killed the game. They were so much the better side. Disappointed not to get a bonus point, I would assume, but were very comfortable.
Yeah, I think like we were saying, we said very early on. So we were towards the end that Agen attacked in the second half, and we were kind of convinced after about 10 minutes, this is going to be second half, this is going to be an absolute onslaught, and we're going to see loads and loads of tries. And they scored 3 tries in the space of 10, 15 minutes at the start of the second half, and we were like, oh, here is the onslaught that we thought we knew was coming, and then it kind of stop. And the fact that Beziers got a try towards the end to deny them the bonus point feels like a real miss for Agen. One thing we did have, Richard, which was a bit of a theme over the weekend, was a couple of tries chalked off for Agen for stuff.
Pure mystery.
Yeah, like we think clear outs beyond the ball. We think one was a slightly more obvious clear out beyond the ball, but generally absolutely hours of consulting the TMO for ways to deny a try and finding a way to deny a try. So I think Agen had 2 chalked off, didn't they? And then I don't think Beziers had any chalked off. But yeah, Agen were the better team. I thought like Beziers, I think I saw Cam Dodson was their kind of player of the match for Thursday, and he was like, their line out and maul worked really well. He played really well. Outside of that, they did we give him big raps quite often. Samuel Marquez was disappointing or underwhelming, I'd say. He was kind of a bit sloppy, didn't really kind of do anything particularly magical or didn't really take control, which is a shame. Like, you always want to see the players that are good play really well. But a few proper stars in the making at Agen, I reckon. First of all, I think Craig Willis is just a lot of fun to watch. Anyone that watched the FR UK game would have seen him have a go, and he does just have a go, and he's a good rugby player, giving it a go, throwing it about, tacking the line, just really, really fun fly half to watch. Lasha Masharashvili was in the Midi Olympique team of the week for Pro D2, the tight head, who we met in the changing room afterwards. I told him he was the second best tight head in Agen after both Arons. But he had a great game at scrum time and around the park. And then the main man, really, well, Julien Lebien, who we kind of highlighted as a bit of a workhorse. Again, really, really good work rate. Great work around the park. But Tomasi Finianganofo stole the show, really. Like, that try that he scores, just powering through people. He started at 8, so he has played a lot at 7. Playing at 8, you saw his ball carrying a lot more to the fore. He's a proper player. 22-year-old. He's going places.
Yeah, it was obviously him who kind of Bo, when we interviewed him last week, called out as probably the sort of the main upstart. And yeah, sure enough, felt a little bit like when, I think we discussed this afterwards, when we went to that Angoulême game last year and the first time we saw Alex Masabaka play, and just looked maybe a little bit, or certainly if the back row unit's just a little bit more powerful, a little bit quicker than the rest of them. But it was impressive. The other guy who was fantastic for Agen, who is not necessarily a sort of a young man, but Santi Cecino was unbelievable, particularly in the first half. Like, he was absolutely outstanding. Everywhere. Better than
I saw him at. Well, actually, no, he was pretty good at Gloucester. But yeah, he was absolutely everywhere.
Very impressive.
Really, really good game for Agen. And Agen, other than the scrum and maul, line out and maul for Beziers, there really wasn't much to shout about, I have to say.
Yeah.
Also, Ramoka at 12, massive. Absolutely massive.
Wide.
Yeah. that's a great little signing, that.
Yeah, very, very impressive stuff. Two other things we need to talk about to round out Agen. One, a shout out, you mentioned it there, to Bo Farrance, who obviously had on the pod and was incredibly generous with his
Yeah.
time afterwards. And took us into the kind of fulcrum of Agen. So we've done a mock press conference in the press room. We've seen the cryo chambers. We've been in the changing room.
Ran out onto the pitch like as though it was like the top 14 final. Like through the papers.
Something that does always astounds me as someone who's played kind of amateur sport all their lives. When you go onto one of these surfaces, like the Armandy turf is like all the cliches of like a carpet. It was absolutely outrageous. Whether that will be the case in December or we'll go a little bit Montpellier, we'll see. But yeah, shout out to Bo. It was awesome and incredible, like amazing facilities. Like genuinely, I would imagine. You would think that probably some of the better facilities in the league, actually, given how long that ground's been there. It was awesome. And
they are relatively high up the operating budget table, which I think seeing that now makes, like, I bet they don't have that at Carcassonne or Aurillac. Like there was that was a proper kitted out gym and everything, wasn't it? Like all like mini campus really for all things Agen.
Very, very cool. So shout out to Bo for that. And then we can't finish on Agen without talking about we had some good grub over the weekend, and some of the meat and spud combos at Agen were absolutely phenomenal. Rob, do you want to go into the detail?
So we can go into battle for our favourites, Richard, because I preferred the duck confit on duck fat fried potatoes with a kind of Comté and honey mustard sauce, which was just phenomenal. Like I love confit duck when it's done well. That was delicious. The potatoes were spot on because the duck fat potatoes can be a little bit hit and miss. Like
I agree with that. I'm not always. I'm surprised you're saying that, Rob. I thought you would be a pure.
No, I think sometimes they're just a bit. Sometimes they're just a bit under. You need a crunch sometimes, or you need a bit of. And the salt. Oh, it was just. I could have eaten it. Like genuinely, any sporting event, particularly in winter, that would have been the ideal match day food for €12. But the kind of quality of dish and actually volume of it was, if you paid that at a UK ground, you're getting half the portion, I reckon. But that was my favourite of the two which we tried. Go on, Rich.
The other one was the aligot with sort of shredded beef, I guess. Is that a fair way to describe it?
Yeah, kind of a beef bourguignon shredded and condensed.
Well, what I would say is that I did have the duck and absolutely loved it, but I think I then tried the bit of Reese's and then the secondary aligot, and I was just completely taken with it. The mashed potato is probably the best of its ilk I've ever tasted.
So I thought aligot was. I didn't realise aligot was mash. I thought aligot was like the proper Cantal cheese, garlic, potato cream. Like I thought it was a bit of a
the Roland Lachlan.
Yeah, I thought it was I can't remember what they call it. I thought it was more of a tartiflette type thing.
I don't know. Whatever it was, whether this was
it was called on aligot at Agen anyway.
Whether this was like a sort of a riff on an aligot, I don't know, but it was probably the best mashed potato I've ever had.
Cheesy garlic mash.
It was ridiculous. I just loved it. And there's also just that little bit of kind of nostalgia hit of it almost being like a incredible shepherd's cottage pie type thing. It was just ridiculous. And actually the one thing for that, I wasn't utterly mad on the Comté honey sauce, I must say. But either way, if you go to the Armandy, seek out, it's not that hard to find, seek out the little kind of Fiat truck thing behind the main stand, and you will not go wrong with either of those. And I think there was something else on the menu, right?
Yeah, there was. I can't remember what that was. I think it was something
not the kilo of Côte de Boeuf. That was at Toulouse, wasn't it? There
was also some duck heart baguettes a few stops along on one of the other stations that fortunately didn't get to try. I'm sure that would have been delicious.
Very good. Agen, is that a fair report, good report card?
Well, one thing, Richard, you were talking about how it was dead. We did actually, before pre-game, we had a lovely mixed platter with a really good goat's cheese and some cracking meats in Havana Bar, which was like, this is catering for all people. Like, we were having a pretty average glass of red. Well, average for the trip glass of red, while other people were mixing up, the barmaids were mixing up like
The sex on the
cocktails.
beach.
Yeah, for some people having a full sit down dinner. We had a little platter just before we went. It was at that restaurant we easily got a seat. Well, what would it have been, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. after on the way back from the ground? That was
That one.
all of Agen was in Havana Bar. It was absolutely pumping. It was kind of like, we've seen it a few, it's definitely sort of Limoges as well when we went there last year. Like, these towns are dead and then all of a sudden they're not. Like, they just appear from nowhere and these bars are just late night absolutely rammed. That was lively. That would have been if we'd not been, if it was a little bit earlier, and I think we were just a bit too old for that by the end.
Yeah, 100%. Nightcap only. On you go. Get a bit of kip. And on to Toulouse, which was a non rugby day on the Friday.
Which feels weird when you're on the like when you've had one and you've got another. Like, I feel like when you have a fallow day, it always feels a bit odd. But we started it as we would most trips to Toulouse by going to the Marché Victor Hugo, which, again, a little bit quieter on a weekday, on a Friday, a little bit quieter than a Saturday. We were able to nestle up for a spot, and just what a lovely place to start your day, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good in there. Good in there. Went upstairs I think it was the first time you'd been up there.
We did,
had a little
first time I'd eaten up there. Yeah,
had a little sit down lunch, which was pretty good. Little cassoulet for me. When in Rome, all that sort of thing. And then I don't know what else there is. Oh, we had quite a nice. It's basically just sort of bopping around, eating a few wines. Very, pretty agreeable stuff before jetting off to Montauban, which really
the evening was actually really good. We went to a couple of favourite haunts, I'd say. Little Big Bar for nice blonde beers, and yet another mixed platter, but they didn't have the rugby on there. They couldn't get the channel, which is a bit of a shame, but they did have the Ryder Cup, so that's all right. We went to Le Dahou for some very traditional French stuff. You had a pretty top drawer French onion soup, Rich.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Had banoffee pie for dessert as well. That was a lovely touch.
Nice, refreshing.
Not had that for ages. We nearly killed Reese, our egg allergic man, with the dessert. It was nearly the perfect murder. Because they were slightly lost in translation that there was definitely no eggs in it. The waitress, second time round, was like, yes, of course there's eggs in it.
Yeah, amazing.
In a chocolate fondant, famously quite eggs are a big ingredient in chocolate fondant. And obviously we went to Nabu Conodosso, the world's best secret wine bar, with the old boy. He did say, he's like, oh, is this your first time in Toulouse? He's like, no, I've been here a few times. And he's like, oh, no, I think I do remember you. Which is like, I'm sure you do, mate. Yeah. But yeah, what a place that is. Absolutely outrageous value for some interesting wines, some delicious wines, and a few more challenging ones, actually, this time around, I reckon, like in terms of complexity of flavour, and just a bit too experimental, maybe.
A bit less quaffable.
Yeah, but still very good, still enjoyable, I'd say.
Yeah.
So all in all, a very, very enjoyable evening in Toulouse, and Toulouse as a city looking absolutely stunning as a result.
Yeah, always nice. Off to Montauban next morning, which is also a very pretty place, isn't it? Incredibly sort of, just a lovely spot for, Montauban, Montpellier. The ground, you said, had changed quite a lot, obviously. No,
it felt really different. They've ripped out the old velodrome. It felt a lot less old school than it did.
Yeah.
Felt really old school before. They've got that new stand along one side, which felt smaller than what they had before, the kind of concrete one they had before. And then weirdly, like where we were, there was a whole new kind of few rows of seating that wasn't open yet. But we were pretty, like, it's all very close to the pitch now. Yeah. And the plastic pitch, it looks like a really, like, if you hadn't been there before, you'd be like, this is a really cool little stadium. But it was kind of like more old school before, and it kind of had like a slightly more,
bit more of a charm to it.
Yeah, slightly nostalgic charm. But that said, the one constant between the two times that I've been was the Stapiac Ultras, who were phenomenal. They were so, like, all game chanting and creating noise. They were absolutely fantastic. And also the food was really good. We had lovely, kind of a meat and potatoes.
Another
number.
One.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of meat.
Potatoes so good. I thought they might have been sweet potatoes. They were that kind of caramelized and beautifully cooked. But yeah,
they were very good. It was also boiling. That's
that was the one. That was the one issue, is like we were into the sun and zero shade, and it was hot. And I'm glad I brought a baseball cap and some sunglasses, because that was definitely necessary. It does slightly affect your viewing of the game, I'd say, because you are kind of always squinting, I'd say. But thoughts on the game, Rich? I thought,
Yeah, it was. I mean, obviously, it was 22 all. Montpellier last play got over the line and converted it, which was, well, it's the second game we've been to this year, Van Perpignan, and and this one where it's felt like the deflation in the ground at the end is pretty big, understandably. I think Montauban would have been pretty fair value if they'd managed to hold on. It did feel like with the Montpellier bench, like the tide was turning. Definitely, you would just, even from the restart, because they scored a couple like a little bit late on, didn't they? You just felt it needed it towards the end. It felt like a Montpellier mistake was almost required for them to surrender possession. But it was a shame, because I think they mixed it really well for the most part up front. I think Montpellier scrum at points did obviously kind of get on top, but that's happened a fair bit.
Adosio played really well. I think he got a try, but I think he also made the
Team of the week,
elite. Yeah, because he was actually really good at scrum time. Sordoni on the opposite side for Montauban looked like he was on one. But
yeah, he did, particularly in the first half. But yeah, I think I guess the frustration would be for Montauban. We don't know how many games they're going to win. You would think this actually puts them in pretty good stead for their home fixtures, because it was a pretty full click Montpellier side as well.
It was like 4 changes, I think, from a side that dusted Toulouse last week. So yeah, our man Carl Wilkins was excellent, starting at 6 this time. Part of a pack that were really kind of matched, certainly in the sort of tie exchanges for pretty much the whole duration. So yeah, just both
a bit of a shame.
Very
really
good, I'd say. I think I'd say certainly Montauban's defence was really good. I think Montauban possibly in the opposition's half, or in the opposition's 22, the more ambitious team. Certainly, or slightly less direct, I'd say. They were looking to spread it wide a bit more. But it is still very much the territory based on the Bosville kicking game, and it's got a massive boot, and it's been handy, kind of pin people back, put pressure on the opposition. I think also you got to think that Montauban were missing Josh Vesey, who is undoubtedly an X-Factor player for them, but also their big signing of Fifita. So they were missing their 2 X-Factor players. In terms of elsewhere, the other X-Factor player, Kylian Ringay, thought, he was what I expected to see based on what I've seen from TV. He was just a brilliant athlete, great engine. It seemed to be absolutely everywhere. Him and Carl Wilkins went really well in that back row. Yeah, it was an impressive performance, if not quite the result they wanted. But they're not foot at the table, so that's something. Kind of gets them off the mark, which is good. And then I suppose to round out off to the Ernest Vallon. Yeah, we didn't have long after the game, did we, at Montauban? I think had it been the 2:30 French time kickoff, that would have been the ideal. I think we'd say you can do it, but ideally you want the kind of early kickoff in one, later kickoff in the other, because it would have been nice to soak up a little bit more of the post-match atmosphere at Montauban. But we had about half an hour or so, didn't we, in the bodega or in the pub or whatever they call it. I'd say we were flagging at that point though on the train. The lads were, the day of drinking was starting to take its toll. But what a place to get energised. Stade Ernest Vallon, that was sensational under lights, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's bouncing. And I've sort of been a little bit sceptical about, I don't think it's necessarily in the state, or like the building itself is the most characterful, unless maybe some of the other places. But as you say, certainly under the lights, it was pretty spectacular. We were quite near the Castres fans, who make a decent old racket as well. So felt like the sort of general atmosphere of the place was kind of pretty much exactly what you want from a late kickoff.
I'm going to put it out there. I think Castres might be the best away fans in in top 14.
Yeah, they do.
I've
They
seen them
do
a
give
few
it
times, and they just
pretty heavy.
go for it. Like, bearing in mind they were getting absolutely pumped in that second half, they were still going full noise
Yeah,
all game. I thought they were brilliant.
it was good fun.
And they go big on drums. They've got some great flags. They've got some classic weird away fan outfits as well.
Yeah, there's always a few characters, aren't there? But yeah, I mean, again, we alluded to it at the top. It was unfortunately for Castres a bit of a hammering.
Second half, it was a hammering. First half, they were in the game.
First half, they were. I thought they were great actually. They didn't have massive possession, but they played with intent. They were keeping the score ticking over. It was kind of it felt like a really good away performance for most of the first half. Kind of a little bit rope-a-dope, but keeping in it. And then the Cramore hat trick try just before Ryder Cup in a weekend of cliches. Bad time to concede, and then it was kind of floodgates, wasn't it? After half time,
Castres did not come out in the second half. Some of the defence was lackluster.
It was a little
Toulouse,
easy.
like we were saying, Rich, like Toulouse didn't really Toulouse probably third or fourth gear. It felt to rack up 50 points, or certainly like second half to score like 30 odd points, five or six tries in third or fourth gear. It didn't feel like they were really going for it. Cast obviously a few injuries without a recognised 10 doesn't help. But Teo Antamac was brilliant. Ramos looks like he's just chilling. He looks so comfortable. For a man to be that good without appearing to put any effort in is amazing. And Paul Grau was really good. You did admit that you were starting to turn on Paul Grau, Rich. You were starting to come round to him.
He's all right. He's improving. He's quick, isn't he, Paul Grau? He's got genuine pace. Yeah, brilliant. Good fun in the bodega afterwards. Probably a little bit cooked, but we kind of made it back, and we're here in one piece. It was a
little rib of beef, steak and chips baguette, which was
just
delicious.
To round off the meat and potatoes vibe.
Yeah, that was really, really good. Yeah, and you could get a kilo of Côte de Boeuf for €60. I'm intrigued. I mean, on another day, I reckon I'd been up for that. Maybe not. Maybe not on Saturday, but I'm intrigued to see how that comes out.
Yeah. It's kind of I feel like over the years, maybe on telly as well, you see sometimes like someone eating something incredibly elaborate in the ground, and you think, how on earth has that come about? A Côte de Boeuf is up there in terms of lavish stadium food, isn't it? Difficult to eat as well with a cardboard fork, I imagine.
Yeah. I also quite like that they I mean, like, it's a proper, to be fair, there's fairly proper setup. Like, you can buy a bottle of wine, albeit they then upturn it into a jug. But it's I just can't believe at Toulouse, like, how, I guess it was kind of similar at Agen, but at Toulouse, how late that bodega stays open, and like just how many people stay behind for like dinner and drinks effectively. Post game at 11 o'clock. It never ceases to amaze me.
Yes, and it's very much, which I guess is one of the, maybe a bit of a cliche, but one of the things that I think French rugby does so well is the kind of spread of folk as well. Like it's just all walks of people in the, as you say, in the bodega, chowing down on a bit of steak and chips and a bit of wine, and it's hard to speak more highly of how they have it set up there, and also the world's biggest club shop.
Yeah, it's enormous.
It's like an Argos.
Yeah, where I did purchase some lovely items in my one in one out policy. But I'd say Stade Vallon as because given the game I went to before was also Toulouse Castres, but it was the early Saturday afternoon kickoff. I think Reese and I who went last time both said that was a better experience, that kind of Saturday evening game, and having, maybe it was also where we were sat. I think we were kind of in a bit of a kind of posh seat, not quite posh seats, but we felt like being so close to the Cast fans maybe put us nearer like the atmosphere.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, it was. I think it's fair to say that bar the loss of the Montauban jumper, it was a wicked weekend. Need some veg this week. I've been very veg heavy the last 2 days and starting to come back round. Yeah, veg and a few jogs, but all told, a pretty top draw weekend, I think it's fair to say.
If anyone's got any recommendations of how to get veg into like more consistently into a weekend, fruit or veg into a weekend in France where it's pure decadence. I don't want, go to pokey place or something. I don't want any recommendations like that. But if you've got a recommendation of like a dish that is high in fibre that is also decadent, then please write in. Please let us know.
Haven't discovered it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to say on the trip, Rob?
Well, go on then, Rich. If you had to pick out a dish, a drink, and an overall highlight, what was your favourite bit of the weekend?
That's tricky. A dish, probably the French onion soup. Absolute winner for me. Always hits the spot. Particularly good one. Just an incredible bit of simple cooking. Drink, God. Probably one of the reds we had in Nabu Conadossa was lovely, and lovely surroundings, and just generally good time had. Yeah, then maybe a little bonus kind of, what would you call it? Bonus star for going in the Agen changing room. That was quite cool. Haven't done that before. Probably won't do it again. So yeah, very good. How about you?
I'd say food. I'm going to go for the Agen, the food at the stadium. I think that was probably the best thing I ate. As much as I love banoffee pie, and as good as dahu is, as good as that dahu potato dauphinoise is, and drank. I'm going to go for the Corsican red that we had in the in the Basque bar. Ironically, in the Basque bar in Bordeaux, there's a few regions being ticked off there. But in the Marché de Capucin, as much as I love Nabu Conadosso, I thought that orange wine at Nabu Conadosso was delightful as well. But probably if I had to pick one, the Corsican red, or the red that we took away from that bar that took us 4 days to drink. But yeah, that was lovely. Best highlight. I mean, the behind the scenes from Bo was cool. I do think I think that morning in Toulouse, just when the fourth member of our party joined us in the Marché Victor Hugo. Yeah. Or just being in Nabu Conadosso. That is I just love it there. I love that bar. And getting complimented for having the best T-shirt in the bar because I was wearing a France 98 T-shirt.
Forgot about that, yeah.
Only compliment I received all weekend. Other than saying I look good as the butcher of Montauban in my bright green Montauban apron. Yeah,
that was an interesting look for sure. Successful time had by all. Shout out to Rosbiff listener Jolly who joined us.
Yeah, of course,
for both games. Who'd also been up in Brive, which sounded pretty heavy as well with the FR UK team up in La Watson Irish bar. So yeah, fair cracks to him for getting involved. I'm sure we'll
Jolly, who
again.
features quite heavily if you watch back the replay on FR UK, he features quite heavily in the little halftime segment that they did.
Oh, really?
In Les Halles from Brive Le Gaillard. Les Halles Gaillard, I think they're called. Jolly features heavily, getting interviewed by Joe Worsley about his times in France and the trip. Well, we'll let him off not slipping in Ros Beefs. You could tell he wanted to. Like, I'm joining the Ros Beefs in Montauban and Toulouse, but he kind of, you could tell. I think he kind of kept that out, but hopefully we haven't shattered the illusion that we're nice people, which I'm genuinely quite worried about. I think he said never meet your heroes, which was, not something I kind of expected to hear, but didn't want to hear.
There we go.
Obviously not a hero, but yeah, the illusion that we're good blokes.
Right, where do we want to go? That's their little travel tales. There was other rugby on. I'll be honest with you, Rob. I've only seen it in patches, but I believe you've been doing a bit of research, a bit of revision ahead of this. A couple of eye-catching-ish results in the top 14.
The other game that I've seen in full and was probably the game of the weekend, certainly the finish of the weekend, even over and above the Montauban-Montpellier game, was Bayonne down at the Stade Jean Daget, nearly defeated by Toulon, but for an exquisite drop goal from Joris Segons. I think the setup for it, like the management of the game and just the strike, it is straight down the middle. Joris Segons was was flawless on Sunday night, not only off the tee, and not his kicking, like his distribution was fantastic. Tawara Kerbalo was on commentary, which was a nice touch.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, with Robbie Knock.
Oh, that's cool.
And A, seems like a lovely guy. B, knows his stuff. And C, was singing the praises early on of Joris Segons about him as a distributor, which is not something I'd kind of perhaps he gets quite that many raps for. There was a segment where Baptiste Saran scored a solo try that Like
Yeah,
he
saw that.
absolutely mugs off the whole of the Bayonne pack, basically, darts down the blind side. And Robbie was kind of like, he was like, kind of like, go on, like Saran's the second best after Dupont, isn't he? And Tuara Kobalo was like, yeah, he's capable of magic, but you could tell he was giving big raps to Maxime Lucu. You could tell that,
Oh, really?
yeah, like as a game,
From
like his
half
game management,
union.
his kicking, his game management is just like there's stuff I'm learning from him. So yeah,
Interesting.
from the best nine in the top 14, saying that Maxime Lucu is the second best nine in the top 14. Still
Yeah.
maintain Cabal is amazing. But yeah, what talking the commentary, poor old Robbie, I'm gonna call him out, saying that Lucas Martins was on top 14 debut, where I'm pretty sure he scored like 3 or 4 tries last season. And he was shouting about like, oh, I scored his try on debut, brilliant performance on debut. A rare slip up from Robbie, who is absolutely excellent for learning the backstories of some of these players. But yeah, Lucas Martins was very good. Whether he was on top 14 debut or not, he was really good for Bayonne, and the Bayonne line out was excellent. Alex Moon played really well. Esteban Capia, he is, I know we've talked about him before, he is a proper prospect. He is not only quick and not only like unbelievably athletic, he's so some real power. Finished game at 8. He is going places. Bearing in mind he was up against like a baddie who I think is perhaps getting promoted to the France team above a few others. I think Capia versus Abadi, I would have Capia every day of the week. A few shout outs for some of the English players as well. Ribbons was absolutely everywhere. Lewis Ludlam was fantastic. Both sides of the ball, really physical, great energy. I think Bayonne were the better team. Toulon's defence was good.
Yeah.
That's why kind of Bayern didn't score that many tries, but it was the discipline. Their discipline was really, really bad. It's quite sloppy. I know Nonu scored a try and became the oldest try scorer in top 14 history, but he was a little bit sloppy in other parts of the game. And I don't think it was home crowd stuff either, which you could say happens at Stade Jean Daugé. But fair play to them, they kind of came back and nearly kind of, well, denied them victory. Came back from quite a poor start, I have to say. Dreyan, I understand, is okay. He went off with a
Yeah, I heard he had a
like,
real bad one.
yeah, it was a weird. So basically, his crossfield kick from Garbisi, who had a really good game actually. I thought Garbisi had a good game, and Dreyan just gets way above Tiberian and blindsides him, and Tiberian just kind of takes him out. He basically doesn't know he's coming, and has his arm in the air and just but Dreyan like proper from quite a height drops on his back. And they had about 15,000 medical staff around him. But that one, Tiberian got a yellow card for taking him out, even though he's definitely going for the ball. He just hasn't been aware of the space, as it were, or however they want to say it. And also they got a penalty try for that, which is fair enough, I think. If you're going to give him a yellow card and say he's at fault, Dreyan caught the ball, and if he lands normally, he is scoring a try. But Dreyan was stretched off, but apparently he's just going through normal
Standard protocol stuff.
Standard protocols, yeah. There's no extra stuff,
good.
just normal concussion checks.
That's good to know.
Return to play protocols.
Good stuff.
I think that's everything I had to say on that game. But Bayonne were, 2 packs that were really good, and Bayonne's line out, brilliant.
Yeah, I did see the one little bit I did see of this was it was the Martin. His try was set up by a brilliant break initially by, was it Setiano, the tight head?
Who made the Midi Olympic Team of the Week as well.
He
dusted Danny Brennan, got hooked after like 45 minutes.
It seems
Setiano definitely had the better of him at scrum time.
Yeah, impressive player. As is the I've forgotten his name, the young loose head as well.
Andy Bordley,
looks pretty tidy as well. It seems like he's usurped, maybe it's early in the season, isn't it? Maybe usurped Cormenier.
I think Cormenier might be injured. He was on the sidelines.
Was he? Okay.
He was in the stands,
I'm pretty sure he started over him a couple of times. But yeah, interesting one because I quite like Cormenier. Where else? I suppose eye-catching-ish result, a home win, but Stade Francais pretty comfortable against Bordeaux.
Very comfortable, because we've got to be careful what we say, but you know who left some points out there off the tee. Don't think we can name him, otherwise he'll give us a bad review again. But in general play, Louis Carbonell was very good, and they were completely all over them. I think Carbonell missed like 3 or 4 kicks, so it could have been a much bigger scoreline, but Stade Francais were just the better team. I think it makes a huge difference having the guys that are rumoured to be taking up quite a bit of salary cap in Carbonell and Tanga look like they're playing, which is
as if they are highly paid players.
But they're also playing with a bit of confidence. Jeremy Ward was back as well and looking good. I feel like one of those players, like when they don't have him, when you see him play for them again, you're like, I remember why Stade Francais are good, because they have Jeremy Ward in their team, sort of thing.
Yeah,
like
why this guy was on the short list for top 14 player of the season, like 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Impressive stuff.
Quite a strong Bordeaux team.
It was a strong. LBB was playing Woki. Yeah, it was incredibly strong side. A game I genuinely have not seen any of, so I can't comment on. But in terms of result, Racing,
there are some serious tries in this game.
Yeah,
serious tries in this game. Tuisova was excellent, and he scored one try.
Magic.
He scored one try that only Tuisova scores. Like, it's kind of
parting of the seas.
He should be stopped like 5 meters from the try line, and somehow he gets to the line like a split second later. I don't know how he's got through there. He did also potential. I think you're gonna have to dig it out, Rich, to see if you agree. It's potential own try from
okay, good to hear,
from Tuisova. So there's a brilliant break from Hamdawi, and the ball kind of spills out the ruck, and Tuisova just wellies it like proper toe punt, and it hits either a Clermont player, or I think it hits Tanguy Tangivalu, who is less than a metre in front of him, and ricochets back over the try line. But it's like on the edge of the 22, Tuisova has given it full welly toe punt, and it's hit someone less than a metre in front of him, and obviously it goes the exact direction it should do from there, back over the try line, and Genot sweeps in to score. But they did score some brilliant tries. Halleux with a key role in setting one up, but also the Halleux try, which is off the top of the line out, dink over the top from Hugo Sun, Tuisova gathers, draws the man, gives to Halleux. That is like vintage Racing, I'd say. Like, it was Racing in the Russell, Zebo, Imhoff years. Like, it was very, very reminiscent of a try they scored against Saracens in the Champions Cup, I think in the quarterfinal in the COVID year when they knocked them out.
Yeah, I remember that.
And where it's like, it was almost, I genuinely almost
semi-final
to that. Was it semi, was it?
Yeah, because it was the game before they lost to Exeter.
Oh yeah, dusted Leinster.
Leinster, didn't they? Yeah. Empty Aviva.
But Racing are good. And Raka scored his 100th try for Clermont.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
And 101st. Can you name any of the other 5? So Raka is one.
Oh,
I reckon if you put me on the spot, I'd be able to name one.
It's
quite obvious. No, more obvious.
More obvious.
The man of Clermont Auvergne.
Rougerie.
Yeah, Rougerie is one. Napoleon.
Is this 100 tries for Clermont?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you. Sorry, I guess you're going to say Nalanga.
Nalanga, yeah.
Delisau, was he there long enough?
No, it was Sant-Andre, who I didn't know played at Clermont, and then some bloke from the 70s I'd never heard of. But so quite a Rougerie, Sant-Andre, Nalanga, de Bertrand or something like that, and Raka. So quite an exclusive group that he's joined.
Exalted company. Yeah. Two guys I want to. I'm not commenting on them now because I haven't seen them play, but the guy we mentioned is kind of an eye-catching selection last year is Shingi Manyara, who now seems to be, it's only a couple of games, but he started ahead of Baudon, I think, the last couple of weeks. He's a guy that we've really liked the look of. It's quite a cool story. He's still only 21, Zimbabwean, clearly highly rated, so maybe one to keep tabs on through the rest of the year. And I noticed as well, guy who's I didn't recognise, Soumaila Camara.
He's played quite a bit this season, but he's come through the academy, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's from Bobigny. So some exciting, like very young back row stocks at Racing, which is at the start of the year they kind of hung their hat, didn't they, on that they're going to move away from that sort of Galacticos approach. And interesting to see, albeit early days, that kind of be slightly vindicated, it seems, which is very cool.
And the guys, one guy that's come through at Racing, Max Spring, playing really well at the moment. But the other guys they've brought in, Hugo Sun and Leo Carbonneau, clicking
nicely.
For the big try that goes like coast to coast, there's definitely a forward pass. The big, like, wide-ranging pass from Carbonneau is definitely forward. But let the boys play. It's amazing, like, how often I've noticed that watching this weekend, given that we talked about them finding ways to chalk off tries, which Montauban's a victim of.
The forward pass basically doesn't exist anymore.
But the forward pass just doesn't exist. Like, they will look for 3 minutes to try and find a dodgy clear out or a knock on, or like one got put back in one of the games for hands on the deck at a ruck. I think Thierry Paeva like briefly put his hand down in a turnover, and it's like, what? Like, if you haven't seen that live, like, why are you going back for that? And yet, 4 passes, fair game. Yeah, bizarre. Talking of wonder tries, though, section Palois, my boys.
Yeah,
Have you seen the Brow Barry try that
yeah,
is
it's awesome.
started by Gregoire Arfoy, who I think I saw a tweet over the weekend that said Gregoire Arfoy, proper player. Up until this point, even as a Po fan, didn't know much about him other than that he's in a band with Aaron Grandidier and
Oh wow,
he's in that band. He's in that band, you know, like the Grandidier Gaeton band from like
I didn't
last
know.
year.
I didn't know this was a thing. That's amazing.
We spoke about it, and you enjoyed it a lot.
Fair. Well,
But Gregoire Arfoy is in that band, I'm pretty sure.
excellent.
But the hell of a player by the looks of things. I think he might have been involved in some of the sevens stuff, but he kind of sets up one of the other tries as well. But Browbury, I think the pace for him to get on the end of that is something I didn't realise he had. And Poe looked damn good in this game. Some of the attack, like Desperez scored a lovely try. He looked good. Yeah, looking fantastic. I think 3 of them made team of the week. And Arfoy wasn't even one of them. I think it was Grandidier, Maddox, and Oradu. Thibaut Dabagna 300th game for Poe, which bearing in mind he's only 31, I think he is, which is some. I mean, he has been there since the age of 5, so fair enough. But 300th senior
that
game
doesn't.
for Poe.
Yeah,
Doesn't include like under sixes.
I'd like to see the stats from like minis, touch tournaments, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
that'd be a good complete record. To round it out, then, I think we're the only one we've missed out. La Rochelle beat Perpignan, which I think is probably arguably the least surprising result. Perpignan, who it's fair to say have had a bit of a shocking start to the season, haven't they? No points from 4, including 2 home defeats, is not ideal. But
yeah,
there we go. Shall we quickly round out Pro D2?
Yes.
Let's do it. So obviously we spoke about the first game in great detail because we were there, Agen Béziers. There are a couple of pretty eye-catching away wins actually this weekend. So Van Aurillac, perhaps not the biggest surprise given the difference in budgets, but Aurillac will be going really well at home, and I think Van will be pretty chuffed with that. They are, as I think we were discussing the other night, feel like the front runners by, well, possibly by a bit of a distance, given the points they've picked up on the road and they've been imperious at home. Perhaps our boys, that isn't looking good. I know you've spoken how well Colomiers started, but Soyo Angoulême beaten very comfortably 37-15 at home is not a great sign.
I wonder if, so I know that, and they mentioned it on FIUK, and apparently Joe was talking about it with Jolly, is Grenoble kind of had a longer pre-season, or longer layoff and had a later pre-season. And I wonder if there's an element of that with Songalem after a bigger season. Maybe there's a little bit of a hangover and feels like they're rotating quite a lot, and feels like they haven't picked their first choice team in any game yet. So maybe they're just kind of getting going, but 2 wins from 5 is not great. And some of the nature of some of those losses as well is not good. But Colombia going really well.
Yeah. And the other really kind of standout one was Carcassonne going away to Mont-de-Marsan, who themselves have had a pretty really poor start to the year, sitting just above Dax, who obviously had the 5-point penalty, but also points difference of nearly minus 100.
Minus 97 after 5 games.
Is not great. And yeah, Carcassonne, who I don't know, I didn't hold out a huge amount of hope for broadly or for this game. That's an amazing win for them. I'd be intrigued to know a little bit more about what's kind of what happened there. But that's a fantastic result. What else have we got? I think otherwise it probably went to form. I said Oyonnax, well, maybe not to form, but Oyonnax hammered Valence 55-8.
Yeah, I don't think we saw that margin coming, did we?
Yeah, although as you said, Oyonnax are 30 seconds away from being 4 from 4. Yeah, so yeah, maybe they've been bubbling under. Provence beat Dax pretty handily, which is to be expected, as did Nevers over Biarritz.
Yeah, and then the Friday night game, which I've also watched back, Brive versus Grenoble. I think Brive would have done well to come out of that with the win. I think Grenoble, they got 1 point, which is a good result, but they went fairly strong, albeit with Clement at 10 as opposed to Palmier. And Clement actually played pretty well. He had a nice drop goal. Although the key moment, Joe Worsley was quite critical about him on commentary. He kind of took a mark and then cleared it, and the clearance wasn't fantastic. But like killed like the momentum and could have easily got further upfield. And that was what Joe was critical about. But from that line out, Brive go off the top and they find Kerwin Bosch out in space, and it is a moment of magic from Kerwin Bosch. Like, his pace is fantastic. He skins the outside defender, I think it's Chevaludze, but he also like absolutely does with his like feint of the body, absolutely does Max Clement at the backfield. It is a brilliant solo try, and I think he got injured in scoring it. I think it looks like he should be all right, but he did go off after that. But it's that
match winner.
Yeah, like, and a few moments from their key players earlier on in the game with Tisserand and John Cooney playing really, really well. I think as a team, Grenoble were better. They looked much better than they have done previous weeks. As I mentioned, the intel is that they've had a later pre-season, so they're kind of to hope that they don't, well, because they played 2 big games more than everyone else at the end of the season, but also so that they don't fall foul of that again, and hopefully they come into it fresh towards the end of the season. But they're starting to click together now. True, I think, makes a big impact. The fact that Barnaby Kuyu was really good at 9, that is clearly a big difference for them to have him at 9.
Yeah.
I thought they were certainly the more ambitious side. I think Brive were very dependent on Cooney's kicking and the big boots of Schilcock and Bosch to pin Grenoble back. Hugo Trieu scored 2 lovely tries, actually, so showed some real pace to get on the end of one. A few things, I don't know whether it's because it's just whoever's commented on the YouTube video, but apparently Brive fans not happy with the refereeing, which I would say like the Courtney Lawes yellow, I'm putting it out there, mate, I think he's lucky to get a yellow. I think it's an orange, but it could easily have been a red, because I think it's a tackle that I don't think I've ever seen Courtney Lawes make in his career, but he's kind of relatively upright and then driving up, and I think he does make contact directly with the head, so I think he's quite lucky to get just a yellow. And apparently Brive fans weren't happy because A, he got yellow, and B, when he's on the deck, I think there's a little bit of a forearm in the face, like scuffle along the floor from Pataya. But I think he's lucky. I'm putting it like, I know, to be fair, full disclosure, Tim is like, I am a super fan of, like, Courtney Lawes is my favourite player, so I'm always he did say on commentary, like, I'm always gonna think that he's not at fault, which is fair enough. We all have our blind spots, but I think he was lucky.
There we go. Okay, shall we? Have you got any Petit-Fours, Rob, or should we do a little bit of Nationale? That was back this week. Just a quick results roundup. Massy beat Périgueux at home. Tarbes, who's just up the road from where we were on, I guess, the weekend, beat Bourgoin, who look like it might be in for a bit of a long season again. Bourg-en-Bresse beat Marc-en-Barruel. Chambéry beat Rennes. Perhaps a little bit more eye-catching on the Saturday, though. So Suresnes drew at home to Narbonne. I feel like there's been quite a few draws this year already, across a few of the leagues as well. Nice beat Niort away from home,
which is a good win. The guys were saying, I've had a few people say that Niort were pretty impressive, and they are going to be tough to beat at home. That's a pretty good win, that, from Nice.
So that leaves Nice top of the table. And then the final game of the weekend was, mate, my dark horses at the start of the year. Albi beat Rouen away from home, so maybe they're not terrible. But yeah, you're right. I think this league feels like it's quite quickly maybe settling into something along the lines of what was expected. Nice on top, and then you've got Chambéry, who obviously won the thing last year before losing to Carcassonne in the access match. Suresnes, who perhaps come from nowhere thus far, but then Périgueux, Narbonne, Albi, who have I think traditionally been pretty, all of whom have been barragistes in the last few seasons, haven't they? So perhaps going to script a little bit more than perhaps some of the other leagues so far.
Yeah, quite a key result for Tarbes, that, to outdo Bourgoin at home. I think they played 60 minutes with 14 men as well, or something like that.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good
so
going.
Gets them clear of relegation.
Nice.
Well, but still way, like, ages to go. But yeah, the teams near the bottom are the ones we perhaps expected to be down there. Bourgoin, Marc-en-Barruel, Tarbes.
Yeah. Wonder how, I haven't looked him up, wonder how our man Victor Fee Ballas Burel is getting on this year. Has he been playing?
I think he's been injured.
No, that's why they need him back. Key man. Okay, Rob. Maybe we flipped the petty fours a little bit this week with the travel tales and the in-ground food. But have you got anything? Have you got anything that's caught your attention to round us off?
I have. One thing was Antoine Dupont went to Apple HQ in California and
Oh, I saw this.
met with Tim Cook.
Yeah, I did see this. Yeah, yeah.
And I read the
I've got the
article
screenshot there.
on L'Equipe. Well, there's like this weird interview that I saw on, it must have been Instagram, of like him handing over both a France shirt with Dupont on it and a Toulouse shirt with Cook 9 on the back. And I think he says you'll have to fill it. There's like a little dig of like you're a weenie little shit to Tim Cook. I think he was there. It was like some conference about like Apple's like health products or
Okay.
like health sciences. But he is involved in LA rugby, isn't he now, Antoine Dupont? So I think that's why
Yeah.
he was there. It all just seems like I was kind of watching it, being like, is that actually Tim Cook? Is that like what is going on here? It's just there's an interview in L'Equipe. It's just so bizarre. I don't
Yeah.
understand it. Talking of Toulouse players, there is also a brilliant video of. Have you seen the video of Thomas Ramos in the tunnel with the mascot?
Yes. Yeah.
It's so good.
Forgetting the mascot.
No. He sees. I think he likes because there's these mascots are like all in McDonald's, like that green with the yellow arch thing, and he sees like what I assume is like the coordinator, who must be a woman in like her mid-20s at like, and he kind of sees her out the corner of his eye and goes to grab her hand as though she's the mascot, and she has to like put like take his hand and then give it to the actual mascot who's like half her height, who is clearly like an 8-year-old. And he's
Amazing.
like puts his hand up to apologize. It's amazing. I think the video I saw was like, yeah, like Ramos, like pace 10, kicking 10, vision 10, peripheral vision 0.
Like one of those stag do's where someone like gets wandered out. Have you ever seen that? They did it at a championship game a few years ago where they basically stitched up their football championship. I can't remember which club it was, but yeah, they like stitched up the groom and he was basically towering above the I don't know, Derby captain or something.
But the poor girl organising the mascots she looked like absolutely mortified, but I don't know, it's just so awkward, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a compliment to be mistaken for a young child. I don't know.
Yeah, probably not.
Have you got anything? I've got a few other
Just the bit you mentioned there, forgotten about some of the best kind of
I know what you're gonna say.
sequential advertising at Montauban. So you mentioned there, McDonald's is very prevalent in French rugby, and I think you get like a free burger with your ticket, both for Montauban and Toulouse. But there was a brilliant full, you can probably see it on some of the top 14 highlights, a huge digital advertising display behind for a company called Eat Salad, which I don't know if it's like a local thing. I don't know if it's a nationwide thing.
They were quite a big
like
sponsor of Montauban, weren't they?
big sponsor, big green logos, pictures of
I heart Eat Salad.
fruit and veg. And then immediately afterwards, it changed to like the McDonald's new triple stacker, like Dauphinoise burger or something. You like beautifully done. Very good. Cover all bases.
It was genuinely like we noticed the I Heart Eat Salad. Oh, that's an interesting sponsor. Like, never heard of that. Bang, McDonald's. Yeah, that was excellent. Just random news. Youssefa Massi is out for a couple of months with a hamstring injury. That's not great for Lyon. He's been looking pretty good there. The other one I saw, which is courtesy of Iltud Dafith in his Substack newsletter, Jouet, the French Dispatch. Did you see the one about Rodez versus De Casaville?
No.
So in Fédéral 2, Rodez got promoted from Fédéral 3 last year. They had their derby against De Casaville. They played at Stade Paul Lignon in front of 6,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, so the Stade Paul Lignon,
Wow.
I think it's shared with Rodez FC, Rodez Aveyron Football, who are in Ligue 2. So that's actually quite a good standard of football. I think they've done it. I think it's like a brand new stadium. It looked very new. And I think Rodez will be playing there full time, maybe?
Cool.
In Fédéral 2. But for the derby, I think they were nearly at capacity for the 6,000, which is quite something for fifth tier rugby.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
remarkable.
They also play in Sange Or, so the red and gold, which is Perpignan-esque, but it's quite a flair kit.
Very nice. Well, keep an eye out for Rhodes.
Club on the rise.
Alrighty. Rob, you can follow us at Rosbiff Rugby. Email us, robsbiffrugby@gmail.com. We will be back next week. No trips planned, unfortunately, but we'll be covering what we can. And in the meantime, thanks for listening. We have been Richard and Rob. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.